About a month ago, a thread made the front page of Reddit introducing Frostmancy Kennen, a revolutionary new playstyle for top lane. The playstyle entails taking Kleptomancy and Spell Thief's Edge, and until you upgrade your Frostfang by gathering 500 gold with it, just completely ignoring CS and getting your gold income purely from hitting your enemy. And honestly, if that's not just the manliest playstyle you've ever heard of, I don't know what is. While you gain slightly less gold than a champion is just keeping up good CS, when you farm 500 gold with it and upgrade it, you gain the ability to farm again and essentially end up with the gold income of a support and a solo laner combined, while also being able to boost your team's vision game with constant wards. The concept wasn't entirely new, but it was the first time I remember getting traction on Reddit since the original fix to Spell Thieves that made you unable to stack it and farm at the same time. The playstyle caught on like wildfire, with people pointing out that it could also work on champions like Karma and Zillion, and didn't even necessarily require Kleptomancy, which kinda ruined the whole Frostmancy name, so people started referring to it as the 0 CS strategy. Not even a week later, it made its debut in all CS with Huni busting out 0 CS Zillion on stage and winning. Shortly after, SKT lost the game to Kingzone, who used the 0 CS strategy on not 1, not 2, but 3 lanes. Riot apparently decided that this strategy was more cancerous than cancer, because in this short time, only 10 days after the initial Reddit thread that sparked it all, they decided to hotfix the strategy out of viability by making it so you can only stack Spell Thieves when you have an ally within 2000 range of you, allowing supports to keep using it as intended while removing its usability in solo lanes. So that's pretty much the end of Frostmancy, right? Nope! Actually, while the hotfix did kill Frostmancy in mid and top lane, it overlooked the fact that it still leaves the strategy abusable in bot lane, and it gave birth to a new playstyle that has been tearing up EUW Challenger. Frostmancy, AP carry, Sona. Now I know what you're thinking.
Vapora, you dumbass! That's just support Sona letting with another support.
Well, yeah! That is exactly what it is. You are basically playing a support supported by another support. And I know it sounds really fucking stupid, but please just bear with me. First off, to give you an idea of just how strong Sona's late game really is, here's her win rate compared to Vayne's. 25-minute Sona's win rate peaks as high as 40-minute Vayne does, and she remains just as strong from that moment onwards throughout the rest of the game. Let that sink in. Vayne, the quintessential late game AD carry, gets outskilled by a support at 25 minutes! And when you compare her to other hyper carries, it shows the same story. Like Vayne, some peak similar to Sona's peak, but they either don't reach that power spike as fast as her, or they drop off afterwards, and it's not even close as to who outperforms who overall. Sona is actually the true late game queen of League of Legends. But how does that make sense? She can't melt a Sejuani in 3 seconds like Vayne can. How can Sona compete with that? First of all, don't sleep on Sona's damage. Schubart, the challenger Sona main who as far as I can tell came up with this strategy, ends most of his games not only with the most damage dealt on his team, but in the entire game. He rarely gets outdamaged by the enemy AD carry. But that aside, Sona's strength doesn't just come from her damage, it comes from her utility in general, especially in the form of her healing and shielding from her W. She massively boosts her teammates' strength in teamfights while at the same time not slouching and outputting her own damage. Look up Schubart's match history and check out his damage, and you'll see he's constantly matching or outperforming the enemy AD carry's damage output. But what you're not seeing is that on top of all that damage, he's also massively boosting the performance of his own team in the form of heals, shields, and speed boosts, which doesn't get reflected in the damage graphs. Which is still topping anyway. Sona just simply brings more to the table in the mid to late game than an AD carry does. Which is why, rather than having her in the support role where she's supposed to protect the carry and give them resources to help them scale, it makes more sense for her to be the one protected by a support and given all the resources. Why don't you just play her mid lane or like a regular ADC? Well, the issue with Sona is that she's really damn hard to farm with. I'm not just talking about her pathetically weak AD for last hitting, the champion also has no wave clear at all, only one damage spell to DPS mini waves with, while at the same time being extremely squishy and vulnerable to engages, forcing her to have to give up a lot of CS. Meaning it's extremely hard to keep up with opposing solo laners or AD carries. Frostmancy allows her to overcome this weakness because even though you'll be extremely behind in the CS, you'll still be even or ahead in gold despite it. So your inability to farm properly becomes a big weakness still, yes, but no longer a crippling one. When running this strategy, the best support for Sona is easily Taric for a few different reasons. First of all, ideally her lane partner should run Relic Shield. Relic Shield will slightly boost her gold income as it feeds her CS that she wouldn't otherwise receive without receiving a penalty to her Spell Thieves. Additionally, since her support will want to take as much CS as they safely can during the period where Sona's not farming, Relic Shield is the only support item that you can farm on without setting back your upgrade. A Spell Thief support wouldn't be able to touch the CS for the same reason Sona can't, and a coin support could farm but wouldn't get coins dropping from the CS he's last hitting, setting back its upgrade and also reducing the amount of total gold the overall bot lane duo could be getting. Taric happens to be one of many supports who is perfectly happy to take Relic Shield. More importantly, Taric's shields and heals perfectly encapsulate what Sona wants from her support, keeping her safe and healthy while she engages in frequent trades against the enemy bot lane to farm gold in her Klepto and Spell Thieves. He's the only support that can do this whilst also synergizing with Relic Shield. On top of this, his ult is also a perfect match for Sona's needs, since it has very little offensive utility but is amazing for keeping his partner safe from harm, which is exactly what Sona needs since she rarely wins 2v2's bot lane and just wants to survive and buy time to outscale the enemy AD carry. And just like Sona, he's a support that shines in the late game most of all. You can also run this strategy with other supports and it's still viable, but you're just not going to be getting all you can out of it if you're not playing with a Relic Shield support, and even less if that Relic Shield support isn't specifically Taric. The ideal bot lanes to pick Frostmancy Sona into are those focused more on trading than engaging. While Sona's trades are fairly weak early, it's hard to actually make much of an impact on her during trades when she's trading for such a short period of time and being protected by shields and heals from two different sources, both herself and Taric. However, she's extremely squishy and very easy to kill if you get on top of her, so she has a very hard time dealing with bot lanes that can easily engage onto her. For your setup, you'll want to take Flash and Teleport, so you can go back for items whenever you run out of HP or mana and TP back into lane and continue scaling. You won't really need heal since you'll rarely be fighting, but Teleport is invaluable considering all the frequent trading you'll need to do in order to make gold. For runes, obviously you'll want to take Kleptomancy, followed by Magical Footwear, Biscuit Delivery, and Cosmic Insight, and then heading over to Resolve and taking Bone Plating and Revitalize. For stats, you'll want Adaptive Force, and Armor, or Magic Resist if you're playing against an AP bot lane. You'll start off the game with Spell Thief's Edge and 2 potions, then back to upgrade it to Frostfang as soon as you can and TP back into lane. At any point, if you need to back without being able to afford a large item component, you can pick up a Dark Seal since it's such a cheap, cost-efficient AP item. After that, you'll want to get a tier and upgrade it to Archangel Staff as soon as possible. Next, you'll want the Lich Bane, at which point you'll start to seriously chunk out any champion you hit with your Q Power Chord combo. If you're fat and confident, you can upgrade your Dark Seal into a Magi Soul Stealer, but otherwise you'll want to move on to your Death Cap. Then depending on your needs, you can either get Void Staff, Zoni's Hourglass, or Morellonomicon. Your playstyle in the mid to late game is exactly as it would be with support Sona, except it's stronger and you take forever to run out of mana. All you have to do is spam your spells. Honestly, you don't really have to put much thought process into your spells, you literally just spam them. They have like a 3-second cooldown and you have a basically infinite mana pool, so you just pretty much want to use them as much as possible. Her ultimate is her only non-brainless spell since it actually has a cooldown and you need to aim it, but honestly, you don't really need it. I think I miss it more than I hit it and it still doesn't stop us winning fights. I'm pretty sure it's just there to give you CDR on your actually important spells. But seriously, you don't have to think too much about how to use your ult when you're playing Frostmancy Sona, since unlike support where you might want to use it to set up plays, you'll mainly just want to use it for self-peel. But at the very least her passive actually merits putting some thought into. Q Power Chord is the one you'll probably be using the most, and for good reason, because who doesn't like doing damage. But additionally, you'll also want to use E Power Chord either for self-peel or to chase someone down, and W Power Chord can have just as much impact as Exhaust. Knowing how to optimally use each power chord in each situation is necessary to get the most out of Sona, and is a great excuse to delude yourself into thinking that what you're doing actually takes skill. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this and enjoyed playing Frostmancy Sona. This was just a brief overview of the playstyle rather than a full-blown Sona guide, since I just wanted to cover this particular way of playing Sona, not how to play Sona as a whole. I'll probably make more content like this in the future, as well as cover other Frostfang botlaners I enjoy playing, so feel free to subscribe to see more of that, and drop a like if you like this video.